Hi, my name is Will Nunziata, New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film, and also a proud FENIX Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with the acclaimed pop rock singer, guitarist, and songwriter, MARO DeLO. For more on MARO, you can read more about him right below this video, but in the meantime, here is a sneak peek at MARO DeLO's original tune, Breathe You.
I'm underwater and over my head. Try to give you everything, I screwed it up instead. Everything's just spinning out of control. But I'll be alright, just a day in the life of your crazy world. And with just one look and a smile, you know that's all it takes. Turn me inside out and upside down until my heart breaks. I breathe you in, I breathe you out. I lie awake at night 'cause I can't sleep. You're all I think about. Breathe you in, breathe you out. When I close my eyes, baby, all I see is who you couldn't be.
Well, hello, MARO DeLO. How are you?
I'm good, Will. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm so excited that the audience just got a little sneak peek of your incredible original song and the music video for it called Breathe You. Where did you come up and how did you come up with the concept for that song?
So it has a really interesting backstory if you got a minute. So about almost 2 years ago, back it was pre-COVID, so this was 2019. Back in October and November of 2019, I started working with a producer out in LA named Gary Miller. I met him through a connection of a connection, you know, just how you just meet people in the industry. And we started, I remember the second I got there, he had this hook. He's like, I have this idea. He's like, I breathe you in, I breathe you out. I lay awake at night because I can't sleep. You're all I think about. And I'm like, we got to do something with that, you know? So we started to get the ball rolling on a little something else that I had in my head. And it wasn't going in a direction that I think it was really meant to go in. And we were kind of stumped and we didn't really know where to go with it at the moment. But then, so the situation was I was staying at his house at the time. And there was and his daughter lived there and everything. And she invited some friends over and everything. And, you know, Gary at the time was with his wife and she had her son over from a different marriage. And we were all just hanging out and doing our thing. And then all of a sudden something happened. I'm not going to get into it, but essentially it led to him breaking up with his wife. And because of that situation, right before what I had gone through, right before I went out there, what I went through was I went through a breakup of my own, and I was still moving through the motions of that. And just seeing that, you know, him going through his own breakup, it put us both in this vulnerable place for both of us to bond over what we were going through, but to also make the rawest material. And what I learned from that experience is that the greatest pain births the greatest work.
Absolutely, Maro. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, my friend. And the fact that you were both going through this similar, yet different, but similar experience, I think is just another example of the transcendent power of great music like your own. And Maro, I want to know, where did you grow up and when did you realize that you had, you know, not only a great singing voice, but then eventually the need to create your own music?
Right. So it all started, I was born in New York City, up on Mulberry Street in New York.
I love it. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite parts of the city.
It's always busy. But we moved out when I was a baby to New Jersey. We moved to Ohio for a little bit, and then we settled here in the Philly area, in the suburbs. And what you're seeing right now is still part of the story. So this is the smokehouse. This is a separate little building on the property that I have at my house that used to be a literal smokehouse for the slaughterhouses a couple properties over, like 200 years ago, where they would cook the meats and sell it to the markets and everything, right? We converted it into a music studio because it had been originally an office space for years after it was a smokehouse, right? Because it has, you know, all the power and everything that it needs. So I started playing music a lot more seriously around the age of 6 when I moved here. And I was in and out of bands when I was a kid. You know, like I would meet some music kids at school and we put a band together and we would play and do all that kind of stuff. And then after the band broke up, I took a bit of a hiatus for music because of the situation. Everything kind of came crashing down, and it was hard for me. And then I started that, but that's what stemmed me in getting into writing my own music, which I started doing around 16. And I got really heavily influenced by John Mayer and Ed Sheeran, and you know, like Eric Clapton, the Stones, Jethro Tull. Like I grew up on a lot of classic rock and blues, so that's where all of my inspiration came from. And I didn't start really taking singing seriously until I was about 18, because I realized like, oh, I kind of actually have a voice that I never really got to pursue. So around my senior year, and the main reason why I started to really take singing seriously was because I met through a family member these music producers in New York City by the names of Jimmy K. Bones and Neff Jones. Well, Jimmy's the producer and she is his wife and also part of the kind of like on more of the songwriting end of the production. And she really did boost my material to make it better, which is another thing I want to say. Co-writing is definitely something you need to do as an artist, because not only will it push your work forward, but it'll open your eyes up to what you could do and how versatile you can actually be. So I was always open to that kind of stuff. But I really realized that it was my passion, and to really answer your question, I realized it was my passion and what I was meant to do, solely because throughout my life, I went through wanting to do so many different things. Like I remember for a while, I wanted to be, you know, a geologist or a meteorologist. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a teacher. You know, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do something to somehow like fuel my passion for what I wanted to be. And I also, at some point, I even wanted to be an engineer. And I spent 3 years in an engineering class in high school, pretty much not really knowing what was going on. And that was the ticking moment of like, oh my, like I've spent all these years going after something that doesn't really make me feel like I know what's going on or really give me any passion. And it wasn't fueling me, but no matter what I was doing, I could always go back to music. And I could, because even I was bullied a lot as a kid, I'm going to be honest. And music was the one thing that I would come home from a bad day at school, regardless if it was a bully or bad grades, whatever it was. I would come home, rush through my homework, not caring if I got anything right. I do it to the best of my ability. And then I come in here and play music for hours. I'd lock myself in here and I would just completely zone out. And all this time I was like, I had the epiphany of, wow, this is the only thing that has really made me feel like I know what's going on in the world and what makes sense to me.
Oh.
And that's the reason why I do what I do now.
Oh my goodness, how inspiring. And also, you know, to have the support of your family, but also your own little, I want to call it a man cave, but it's really, I want to call it your bliss cave, because you knew, I think, at all times what your bliss was. But I want to also affirm something for you. In addition to being an amazing pop rock singer, songwriter, guitarist, you're a great storyteller. And with all these things that you wanted to be as a kid, I think that you're able to almost get out off your chest through maybe putting on the hat of a different character for each song. I mean, while you're speaking, I'm thinking a lot about myself as a performer. I sung for 25 years and then parlayed into directing, which is my true bliss. But then I realized one day I was like directing, kind of like what you're saying. I was like, I've always wanted to be so much, but now I can play all the characters. And I feel like for you, in your songwriting and being such a great storyteller, you're now gonna get to play all of the things you wanted to be, but you are doing it through your creations.
Exactly. And you're right. You know, you do wear a lot of different hats when you're a performer, because all the stories that I've written, there's only one song in my catalog that isn't written by me, and that's Magic Garden. Fun fact. But every other song in my catalog I've written or co-written. And it's simply because of the fact that in order for me, like I never beat myself up for socializing and getting out there and living my life, because in order for me to write the songs that I write, I need to get out there and live my life. And I need to get out there and be the person that I want to be and experience my life, experience who I am. And thankfully, I'm able to do that. You know, I have a lot of really great friends and great people in my life. And I also, I have access to do things that make me happy. And that's what makes me who I am and what I do so great.
It's
And
amazing. I mean, look at, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know, you have this, you're getting me so enthused in wanting to ask you in kind of, I'm going to try to get it into one question. I'm curious to know where this enthusiasm and light came from, because obviously it is something that's been ingrained in you from a very young age, but that you gave yourself the permission as a kid to lock yourself away and just dream and to be at play and to let your imagination soar. And obviously it has served you very well, you know, already at such a young age with the success that you've had. But also I want to say this, it's less a question and more Will on a soapbox. You're welcome, I'm sorry, not sorry. It is the fact that in you being so young, but you having such, I don't want to say old school mindset, but again, you have such a maturity about you to know that you're going to become a better songwriter and artist through collaboration with others. And that also through your vulnerability and pain, not only are you going to be able to do your best truthful work, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what's going to be relatable to most people. And I just find that very, very inspiring. So less a question, more of affirmation. You know, looking ahead, after this hopefully awful time comes to somewhat of an end, what are you looking forward to most in terms of your music?
Performing and just growing a fan base off of that performing. And to kind of answer what you were saying earlier about, you know, where I get this ingrained sense of drive is from the performing. Like I've been playing on, I remember there's this video of me, it was the first time I was ever on stage and I was 8 years old. I was playing a Black Sabbath song on stage with my guitar coach, right? And it was just like a little thing that the local, you know, music school practice put together, just like a local show thing. And I remember that exact day. I remember exactly what I did. And I remember the second I got off that stage, I went, I want to do it again. I want to play again. I want to play. I wish I knew another song that I could play because I just played one song. And it was kind of like in that moment, I realized like, this is just, I feel more, it's kind of like how Jerry Seinfeld says, like he feels more himself on stage in front of an audience and doing his thing than at some big party where there's a ton of people and there's too much stimulation. And, you know, it's just, you kind of just stand there, you know? And that's the way that I feel is like, I'm more myself when I'm performing than doing anything else.
Well, I love it. Well, hopefully we'll all get to be back to live performance and that we can all then get to see you do your thing. I'm so grateful for your time and I'm so excited to get to speak with you soon. And again, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Absolutely. Well, it was an honor. Thank you so much, man.
In the digital age, artists and bands struggle to make a living. In fact, only a small number of artists can live off their craft. For the 98% of artists that don't have the luxury of being signed to a label, it's tough. But artists deserve to live off their art. Wherever you are around the world, appreciation of music does not change. FENIX brings bands and their fans together, whilst allowing bands to properly monetize their passion. The FENIX app will directly connect bands and fans with no need for middlemen. We're utilizing the blockchain to give the power back to the artist once and for all. Join FENIX, join the change.